Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Rise. My name is Ryan Sullivan. Across the table, as always, we have Jay DeMerit. And in the middle, we have Georgia Simmerling, three-sport, I should say, Olympian, Canada's first and only. It's awesome to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
She's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You were so worried about the dress code coming in here. But you're the best dressed. You look like you just fell off like the J. Crew catalog here.
You gentlemen did not tell me that we were going to be going live on video here. So this is actually by chance.
This is modern.
So
this is
God.
Modern technology. Modern technology has all content.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Videos, sound.
Yeah. We're actually going to edit a tuxedo onto Jay and I. It's going to be a very classy.
Those come in after post-production. But if you need any fixes, let us know.
It's a black tie only show.
Ryan, I feel slightly offensive, a little offended, a little bit with J. Crew. Come on.
I know. I don't know why I said that. I was thinking.
Like
that's true. That's true.
I was thinking Jay Peterman originally, and then.
It's okay though. I'll move on.
We'll move on. I was like, the urban sombrero. I don't know if I want to get into it, but before we dive in to the life and times, the rise of George Simmerling, I got to do, as always, I got to pay the bills real quick, and then we'll get right to it. First off, got to talk about the fine folks at Burrard Physiotherapy. No strangers, I think all three of us, to the physio table here and there. Rehabbing an injury, keeping the body healthy. They've got over 150 years of combined experience. You got laser, shockwave, anti-gravity treadmill, real-time ultrasound. They do it all right then and there. Give them a look. The fine folks at Burrard Physiotherapy, you know you're in the right hands. Also, Burrard Roofing and Drainage. And now this.
Drip, drip, drip. Ladies, you don't have to sleep with that drip tonight. You know, that annoying drip in your home you just haven't gotten around to getting rid of? Burrard Roofing and Drainage can fix that annoying drip. For 40 years, Burrard Roofing and Drainage has been fixing roof leaks right down to the cause, guaranteed. Call Burrard Roofing and Drainage. Call 604-986-1812. Burrard Roofing and Drainage. We've got you covered.
Proudly serving Metro Vancouver for nearly 40 years, the most trusted name in roofing. Check them out online, burrardroofing.com or 604-986-1812. Also got to thank the fine folks at Botanica. And, of course, we have some props for that one. Boom. There it is, the new Perfect Protein Elevated Anti-Inflammatory by the fine folks at Botanica. It's an organic plant protein blended with anti-inflammatory superfoods, including turmeric and ginger, plus 20 grams of fermented plant protein packed with natural vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, healthy fats, and fiber. You got to get that fiber.
Get it in there.
Turmeric helps reduce inflammation for sports recovery. That is a big deal. I'm coming off concussion the last few years. We will get into the injury Rolodex.
The whole show could be about injuries, I think, for this panel.
Yeah, Jay as well. I didn't know. I saw your Instagram post about the split tongue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can chat about that a little bit. I don't know if this would be the best for a split tongue.
Oh, moringa heals everything.
Yeah. There's no salt in there, though. I feel like salt would be a little rough for a split
we're good.
tongue,
We're good.
But anyhow, the fine folks, we thank them so much at Botanica for coming through in the clutch, keeping us healthy. Also, the Burrard Hotel. Check this out. Even two guys in green spandex sometimes need to break away from regular life.
And the Burrard has everything we need.
Space for hanging out.
Bikes for exploring.
Sweet rooms for getting ready for the game.
And an amazing downtown location.
So book your Burrard breakaway now and we'll see you at the game. A stay at the Burrard makes heading to the game that much better. The inner courtyard has table tennis, a fire pit. They got bikes to roam the town. Right when you check in, you got beers, you got chips, you got a nice little welcome pack there. They do it all. Check them out at theburrard.com and make sure to use promo code GREENMEN to get 15% off your next stay. And, of course, the fine folks at Red Truck Beer keeping the show lubricated, if you will. That sounded weird, but keeping us less parched, if you will, and the show rolling. We do appreciate the good times there. And new sponsor on board, Astra Athletica. We had Brent in on the last show. Brent Hayden, he runs the show there with his wife Nadina, and right now I'm wearing the Victor jogger. And oh, mama, look at that! These are my new plane pants.
See that groin flexibility there? Did you see that?
Yeah, see, that's a 2-in-1
Do not let the camera fool you.
That's the Baringa that I can
was
get
the
that
real deal.
flexibility, but then, you know, it works so well with the pants as well.
And the physio.
Yes, and the physio, a 3-in-1. There it is. So thank you so much, Astra Athletica. Check them out online, astraathletica.com. Doing some fine work there. Okay, let's get right to it. Put the props away. Georgia, once again, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Now, let's just start things out. This is what we do with all the guests. We go right back to the very start. Your first sports that you entered the Olympics with was alpine skiing. How did you find yourself falling into that? You're from the North Shore. Of course, like myself, you got a lot of mountains to play with there. But how did the love, the passion start for alpine?
I grew up in a very athletic family. I have 3 older brothers. They love when I give them little shout outs. So, but I truly always do. They, I think, shaped who I really am today. I'm the youngest of 4, so I have 3 older brothers that, are very athletic. And
I've hung out with the Simmerlings, the whole crew, and let me tell you, if you want to hang out with one family, you want to hang out with the Simmerlings. It's awesome. It's awesome. But anyway, keep talking.
I'm within my group of friends, like I can be pretty loud and like opinionated maybe and out there, but I'm like the quiet one when it comes to hanging out with my family. So my brothers, I had to keep up with them when I was a kid. So I really think that drive was truly instilled in me at a very young age. I remember skiing down Whistler, Blackcomb, I think when I was like 3 or 4, like down double black diamonds just to keep up with my brothers and my family. And I think it kind of continued from there. I played every sport I possibly could get my hands on at a young age. Like you name it, I played it. Volleyball, basketball, field hockey,
Did you
soccer.
have a preference back then?
No. Ski racing was like a big part of our family for sure. All my older brothers ski race, so it was kind of like what you did on the weekends,
right,
as opposed to, let's say, like a hockey family.
Sure.
And so you would like a typical day would be to get up I think we had like one of those like 1989 old Suburbans.
Oh yeah, those things are sweet.
Oh yeah, they were awesome. And so we'd all pile in those. My mom would bring us to the mountain on like the weekend, let's say. And I would ski till like a half day on one of the days so either Saturday or Sunday. My dad would like stop his work day, pick me up at 11:30 noon, drive me out to Surrey for a soccer game. I would like change in the car, probably forget a shin pad or 2 or something, and like freak out. And someone would help me, and I'd call someone, and then have a snack. And then after the soccer game, and my dad would watch the whole game, of course.
Yep.
We'd drive out to Deep Cove for a softball practice. Eat some more food in the car, change a whole new outfit, probably forget a softball cleat, probably have to wear my soccer cleats or something, before I was heading back home to do a little homework and scarf down some more food and
the true essence of a multi-sport athlete.
Wow, not bad.
And sacrifice from parents, hugely.
True.
I was gonna say, well played, Dad.
True. Oh
Yes,
no,
that's
a big
hefty.
time. Like there's no chance I could be doing or could have done what I did, and committed to what I did without the support of my parents for sure. And then it kind of continued on from there. I think at around age 15, I had to make some tough choices when I had to drop some other sports to continue ski racing. I actually wanted to potentially quit ski racing to continue soccer, but something in me just said, like, I really loved ski racing and I was pretty good at it too. So I had to quit my other sports and continued on the path of hopefully becoming a national team and an Olympian later down the road.
Nice.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to Ashley. Well, and again, Georgia was a former teammate of my wife, Ashley McIver, and she was talking to Mike Janik, who's also an alpine racer. So, but they were saying, growing up as Whistler kids, that they kind of sat down at a bar a couple weeks ago and they figured out how many turns they think they had by 17, and it was like 111,000 gates. By the time they were 16 and 17. Yes. So, like, can you talk about, like, kind of the youth programs and the development side from what you kind of went through as a young athlete? And kind of, this is what I kind of like about it, is that it is that high performance that early. Can you talk about kind of what kind of training you were going through even at like 16, 17?
Yeah, and I think I'm actually going to kind of talk about the flip side of that, where I first of all, my family didn't have a place up in Whistler, so we weren't going up there on the weekends, where shout out to Grouse Mountain. I was training at Grouse locally.
Yeah.
But that gave me the opportunity to do other sports. So because of that, I actually didn't ski as much as other ski racers that maybe only played one, if not, heaven forbid, two other sports as a skier.
Yeah.
I was playing maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Obviously,
And do you
different
feel
seasons.
that aided in your ability to eventually be a better ski racer?
I would say no to being a better ski racer, but I know it for sure got an Olympic summer medal around my neck.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. I was actually one of, I was pretty skilled as at a young age. And I remember the ski coaches from Whistler and Blackcomb inviting me at a young age, like 10, 11, 12, to go to Europe in the fall and to go on these camps where my team from Grouse wasn't offering that.
Right.
So I think I was
Those high class people.
Yeah,
from
seriously.
Whistler.
well, and I went on my first camp to I think it was France when I was like maybe 13, and now that's actually pretty late to go away and ski, in the off season for Canadians. There might not be a lot of snow in the fall right now, so whereas European kids, I think that is the difference. They're skiing all the time, and they have mountains, at their fingertips, right around the corner from their little village mountain town.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a big believer in the multi-sport athlete creates longevity, which is what we want as athletes, and it's interesting to see your take on that. But
now on that topic, moving forward, I mean, before we get into like the 2010 Winter Games and whatnot, how did you find yourself finding that sponsorship and keeping your dream alive, sort of thing, keeping dough in the bank moving forward?
I worked hard. I think I was 17 when my parents came to me and said, we cannot support you anymore for ski racing, and we will of course give you a roof over your head and help you find sponsors, but we need to kind of get our thinking cap on and think about what we have to do. So, my community came together, and with the help of my mom and a lot of her friends, of course, we came together and we had a fundraiser when I was 17 at a local friend's restaurant. Anatoly Souvlaki down at the bottom of Lonsdale
I
Quay,
got you now,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, we know those owners, and we raised. I think I came away with like a $12,000 check that evening, which is a lot of money for that age, and it was a lot of people coming together and a big collaboration for sure. But it slowly started to trickle down from there. I think the next year I got my first like $5,000 sponsorship from I think it was a friend's a teammate when I played soccer. Her dad had a company in North Van and wrote me out a check, and again, I think it just takes a lot of hard work, and you're not going to get a yes your first try. You keep on asking and emailing and phoning and calling, and you only need one yes, and you're going to get 20 no's. But when you get that yes, you feel pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Nice little shout out for Anatoly Souvlaki there. Not bad. Good food. I've been there as well.
Amazing food.
Yeah,
amazing.
not
They've
too
opened up,
shabby.
the Yale Town. They got the Greek. I think they opened up another one. Honestly, somewhere.
nailing it.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah,
Can't go
yeah.
wrong. Now, why don't we move into 2010? I mean, this Olympics, it's in your own backyard. So obviously that also adds a little bit of pressure. It's your first game, so I'm assuming the nerves are already pretty high as it is. Just kind of describe that feeling, describe that moment when you're named to the team. You're going to your first games, and it just so happens to be where you've trained your whole life.
Yeah, how I got named to the team was a little different than most athletes. I was competing in a World Cup about a month before the games, or I think maybe even less, in Switzerland, and I actually had a really terrible crash. Nothing was actually physically wrong with me. I got air vac'd because I think I did some nerve damage to the back of my leg, so they thought I had maybe broken a leg because it was so painful. So they sent me to a hospital. They checked me out, and I felt like I got hit by a bus, but I actually walked out of the hospital. And my teammates, or my coaches, they're like, okay, we're going to send you home. Like, you're not going to do the next race, obviously. And at that point, we still did not know if I was being named to the team. So I'm in my hotel room in Europe, and I checked my email. Like, I had like a big raspberry on my face. Like, I felt like I got seriously hit by a bus. I was checking my email.
Did.
I did really like
metaphorically, like you were,
or like hard ski gates,
yeah,
like hard plastic metal,
Yeah.
or not metal, but frozen. Sorry, frozen. They do not feel good. And I was checking my email, and I got this email saying like, "Congratulations, you've made the team." And I actually thought it was a joke. Like I thought it was a joke from one of my teammates. I'm like, "Good one, funny, not funny." And so I then go on Skype, and my teammate at the time, Shona Rubens, who was also had not been named yet, also was named to the team. And I don't know the logistics of why we were both named at that particular time, but she's like, "Dude, congrats, we're going." And I'm like, "What the frick?" Like, and I feel like I probably had a concussion at the time. Like I just was in no state to celebrate. Like, and I was alone. Like I was crying probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was just a little ridiculous. And I flew home, like still like limping out of the airplane, and my mom and my sister-in-law, and I'll never forget, I was like taking the escalators down the Vancouver airport, and like I saw their legs because they were waiting at the bottom of the escalators. It was really adorable. Anyway, they had a sign, and I was just like, "Ow, I'm in pain," but like I'm so excited, and it was just a bunch of mixed emotions. Anyway, back to your question. It was crazy. I was young. I was 21, and I was obviously one of the last athletes to make the Canadian Olympic team for alpine skiing. And throughout the course of the Olympics, if you remember the women's downhill event, there was actually only one training run allowed out of the. They had allotted 5 days for the women's training runs to happen in the downhill, but the weather was so bad that they actually only ended up getting one off. I took a tumble. This might be a theme here. In the training run.
Yeah.
I made it down. I was okay, but I fell and I missed a gate. So my coaches then, and that was on day one. So then we had 4 days of canceled weather.
Yeah.
And then my coaches said, "Okay, you're racing the next day," like when the race was going to happen. And then that night, they said, "Okay, you're not going to race. The weather is too bad. We've talked about this. We don't want you racing. It's too dangerous." So I am on the phone talking to my mom, who's down in Vancouver, and talking to my brothers, who were like trying to come up and watch. And so it was like a yes, and then it was a no in about maybe a span of like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So then the next morning, they said, "You are going to race." They've changed the start.
Yeah.
They've lowered the women's downhill start, and we want you to race. And then I'm like gearing up. I'm calling my parents like the morning of. My brother is like working late night trying to like get his ass up to Whistler to watch his sister compete. Literally 10 minutes before my event, before I'm supposed to leave the start gate. And I'm like warming up. Like I spent the whole morning thinking I'm going to race in my first Olympics. Yeah. My coaches pull me aside and say, "There's been so many crashes on the course. We don't think it's safe for you to go down the race. So we're actually going to pull you from the women's downhill event." So that was a pretty tough day for sure. I called my parents. I was definitely crying, and I mean, I felt like I was letting them down, and obviously they did not feel the same way. And they were said, "Of course, focus on you, and you know your coaches are making probably the right decision," because there were a lot of crashes that day. Anyway, it was a pretty like roller coaster mix of emotions.
Yeah.
Competing in those games, I ended up competing in the women's Super G event, which was, of course, one of like the best moments of my life. Crossing that finish line. I wasn't in Vancouver to win a medal. My caliber and my skill of skiing wasn't there. But I do remember wearing the maple leaf. I mean, I get goosebumps talking about it. Wearing the maple leaf on my back and representing Canada and having just fans get so excited that I was wearing like, you know, the Olympic kit and get excited for me and pump me up. So, and being with my family in my backyard was a very, very special time.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, I was working on Cypress Mountain during the games doing some reporting, and I remember I went down the day before like the games were supposed to open and everything was to get going, and like there were supposed to be training runs on the other side of Cypress Bowl, which was naked. It was just completely
like
dry. Yeah, it was like a desert. And then I mean on the way down that night before, it was just like dump truck, just piling snow up the hill. And you'll notice if you watch, like they only show like that side of the mountain. They would never in a million years But it's incredible. So I've never really heard the story from that side before.
It's crazy what they do. It really does. I mean, overnight, I think there were like, thousands of people boot packing the women's downhill. So, I mean, literally row after row of people with their skis stomping the entire run out.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy what the Olympics, of course. Like,
Yeah.
a ton of money, but.
Of course. And okay, so speaking of, 2010, you finished 27th in the Super G. 2011, we've got a concussion. You know what? We've got a concussion. We've got the MCL injuries in both knees. And this is when you decide, you know what? I'm pretty dinged up here. I'm going to go to a sport where crashes are the norm.
They're way worse.
Yeah. You switch things up. You move over to ski cross. What was the thought process there with the change?
Well, my parents weren't very excited. That's for sure. I saw where I was heading in Alpine, and my trajectory of my career not going where I wanted it to go. And actually, part of it was of course my choice, but another part I think was kind of made for me, where a lot of my teammates that I had looked up to on the women's Alpine team had retired. So they retired after 2010. And I actually was the oldest athlete at age 21 on the women's Alpine speed team. And Larissa Yurku was injured at the time, so she was there. But she came back like a year or so later. And I didn't see with the team around me that I was going to go where I wanted to go. And so I saw ski cross and I said, that looks like a hell of a lot of fun and I want to give it a go.
Nice. Well, this man knows all about it.
There was. But again, so Alpine, now you switch to the freestyle side where, ski cross, it's 4 racers at the same time, big bank turns, huge jumps. What was that like? And I know that even on the circuit, it's a little bit different, as far as like, can you just explain now the difference between, say, Alpine and say, like a ski cross discipline for one, but also like just how was it different for your experience of like even traveling with the team and all that stuff?
Yeah, gosh, there are so many. Well, of course, so Alpine, you're going down alone, and you pull out of the clock starts when you leave the start gate. You have an allotted time to get out of there. I think you have about 10 seconds to leave whenever you want to leave, but you pull out of the start gate. So that's the first and foremost the difference. You leave when you want to get out of the start gate. Secondly, it's just you going down a crazy, icy, super steep mountain, going around gates, of course. And in downhill, let's say there's maybe 1 or 2 jumps. In Super G, there's sometimes no jumps, maybe 1 or 2, but they're not crazy challenging or that demanding, if you will, in that way. Versus ski cross, you're competing against 3 other people. The fastest 2 move on. You still go around gates. They look a little different than Alpine. They look more like snowboard racing gates, if you know those. I mean, sometimes you're in the air 14 times in a matter of a minute.
And you're not talking like little jumps. You're talking
No.
like 20, 30 feet in the air.
Yes.
Right? Like even higher.
Oh, yeah. In the Sochi 2014 Olympic Games, I flew from the finish jump, which are typically the largest jumps on the course for the spectators to see. I flew 52 meters.
Right. So that's like 140 feet.
Yes.
math.
Something along those lines.
Something like that. That's hard for me to believe now. Even to think about that.
Because that's far.
That is very, very, very far to be traveling in the air with 3 other people around you. And you're talking like, first of all, girls are catty, and then add up 8 skis and poles and boots and, things are flailing.
There's a lot that can go wrong.
And
put it that way.
Yeah. There's a lot that can go wrong for sure. And but at the same time, it's a very exciting sport. Every day for me, the difference when I switched to ski cross was every day was different. Every day was not let's train red blue as Alpine gates typically are. They go from, besides downhill, all the gates in downhill are red. All the other gates in Super G, GS, and slalom, all the other disciplines in alpine skiing they go red blue for the most part. There's a little change. So we don't need to get into those details. Ski cross, you can train in the terrain park. You can pull starts for an hour. That's like a great workout. And as I mentioned, you do not leave the start gate when you want in ski cross. there's a starter that counts you guys down, and then it's actually automatic when the gate opens. So he says, racers ready, enter the gate, racers ready, attention, and then from attention to 5 seconds later, the gate can open whenever, and you have to pull as fast as you can out of there and beat your three other competitors that you're racing against.
Now, okay, so now you're starting to get the hang of ski cross. You're starting to do well. Now you're shaping up to your second Olympics. Now, do you go in? How much of a mindset shift has it been now? You've been to an Olympics before. Obviously, you're in a different discipline now. So talk about like your 2014 experience and kind of how did it differ, but how was it almost even better than 2010?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was more mature. For starters. And at the same time, when we showed up to Sochi, I saw that track, and as a lot of the other competitors, that course in Sochi was a very, very, very big course. So I actually was pretty nervous. The course was large, and as we talked about the distance that I traveled and most people traveled down the bottom jump, it was a big course, and there were a lot of injuries, and I really thought to myself, like, one round at a time, get through one round at a time and focus on that. And I killed my first two heats. I was out by a long shot, and I was not in my third heat. In the quarterfinals, I ended up in third or fourth out of the gate, and actually ended up first out of the gate, but then made a mistake on like the first start feature, which I had never seen. Even like, that's what's crazy about ski cross. You can show up to a race and never have seen a feature, and really don't know what to do. And
you got to learn it like in 3 training runs. Or
literally learn it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. I'd never seen like such a massive Wu-Tang, it's called. It's like the type of feature. And I did not have a lot of confidence, truthfully. But I did have Olympic experience, which I think was the biggest difference for me. And I think I honed in on like my skill set and what I'm in control of and what I was capable of doing. And I fell in my third round of ski cross and at the games, and I was like structurally okay, but walked away again like feeling pretty bruised up, and I think I hit my head maybe that time. I think I had a pretty small concussion, which was good, but it was like a lot. It was pretty challenging to show up and actually not have a ton of confidence, truthfully, and be like, oh crap, I've never done that. I have to learn this in like 2 days, and I know a lot of my competitors have done it.
We missed one. I'm going to toss it in there. 2011 crash, broke 3 vertebrae in back and neck. Now 2015.
Okay.
We've made the transfer over to ski cross. You suffer a wrist injury, and you get some plates, some bolts thrown in there, and within a week you're on a bike training for your next sport.
Why? Right?
Yeah, I think we all need 3 brothers to teach us toughness.
Yeah, right.
Clearly.
You got some drive in there.
Clearly, we need to be tougher.
But yeah, and like also with that, I mean, you move over and you start competing in track cycling. But more so than that, it's once one Olympics is over for most athletes, they've got 4 years to train for the next one. Now you decide to switch sports, and now you're training for the Summer Games, which are just 2 years away. So what was kind of the mindset on making the switch? And also, like, with the injury, how big of a detriment was that to your ski cross career?
Yeah, I broke, unfortunately, my back and 3 vertebrae in my back actually pretty early on in my ski cross career. But I actually had very quick success as well in it. Mm-hmm. I was on the podium pretty quickly in my first year of ski cross, and I absolutely loved it, and I had a couple World Cup medals to my name, which felt awesome because I had actually never been on the World Cup podium in Alpine. Alpine, there is a lot more depth in the sport of alpine skiing versus ski cross. Every year, I would say it's slowly. They're kind of catching up to each other and evening out. But for me to get a World Cup medal, even in my first year of a sport like ski cross, was absolutely amazing. And I felt, I was just like, this is freaking awesome. I love this sport. And to go back a little bit, my first, it was when I was injured with my broken back. and my neck, which is the same injury, that I thought to myself, I remember sitting on my parents' couch, and I was like, you know what? Why can't I be a Summer Olympic athlete as well? Like, it's been done before. Why can't I do it? That was really like what went through my mind.
And had you been, I mean, because I mean, even Ashley used to say, like, you used to beat everybody on the bike tests and all that stuff, right? Like, even the boys that were on the ski cross team, you know, like, so did you find, like, that you had that opportunity in front of you, or like, were you conscious of that? Like, you know, in these types of things that maybe you could do it, or what kind of led you to that? Like, hey, maybe I should do the cycling side of things.
Well, it actually started in another sport. It actually didn't even start in cycling. The summer before I broke my back and had that injury, I had that inkling and I had that idea, and then it kind of like resurfaced when I was injured. But I actually started rowing. So I contacted Rowing Canada, and who responds is Ben Rutledge, who's a friend of mine now, and he was a gold medalist, I think, I hope he's not listening to this, I think Beijing, Summer Olympics, men's 8 rowing, and he's like, yeah, Georgia, no problem, we'll get you out to the UBC gym, and we'll put you through some tests, and we'll see where it goes. And who knew, I actually have extremely long arms, and that's like really good for the sport of rowing. Long story short, I actually rowed for one summer, spring and summer with Rowing Canada, but on and off, I was still not fully committed to that sport, and focusing on that. So as I was going to these, I was getting up at like 4:30 in the morning, because rowing is like god awful hours, and I was driving out to the Burnaby Rowing Club or biking from West Van all the way out to like the UBC rowing.
That's long.
It's long, I know. And then doing like a 2.5 hour workout and biking home. It was crazy. I would never do that now, but it's crazy the energy we have, right? When we're younger. Anyway, so I did that for one spring and summer, and they actually wanted to invest in me, and they said, we'd love to kind of invest more money into you and or, you know, develop your skills, but we need you full time. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. I just switched to ski cross. So I was still in love with this new sport that I was trying. So right. I said, thanks, but no thanks. And I felt pretty defeated, to be honest. I was like, shoot, like I'm actually really enjoying this switch of off-season training. I know this is going to benefit my ski racing. So I get back on my skis. I race for the next winter. I have that crash. That process goes through my mind again, where I'm like, I still really have this, like, this fire is burning. Like, I still want to try to do this. So then I contact, and I'll have to say, my strength and conditioning coaches for ski racing and for ski cross had told me, Georgia, you should bike. Like, they knew I was rowing, but they said, you should actually try biking. But in my mind, what I wanted to accomplish was be on a team. So right. I played all these team sports when I was a kid, and I actually started to miss that a lot. And rowing to me was a team sport that I could possibly join at a later age. And cycling to me in my mind had not been a team sport. So I didn't really know anything about track cycling. And I just kind of figured like road cycling is an individual sport, and it actually really isn't. I mean, there are components of it, of course, but so anyway, I contact Cycling Canada, and they put me through some tests, and
What kind of tests? What kind of tests are we talking about here? What do you got?
Okay, so funny enough, who I email, like another get back on my emails, and who responds is a previous strength and conditioning coach for Alpine, who had been with the national team for like 6 or 7 years or something like that. And he had just recently retired from Alpine. I didn't know this. And he's like, hey, Georgia, it's Matt. I'm doing some freelance work with Cycling Canada. We'll get you on a flight to LA. And I'm like, sweet. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Not bad. So I got to talk to Matt.
Plus free flights to LA.
Yeah, right.
Free flights from Matt.
Yeah. Come on. Let's go.
So at the time, the track cycling is split into 2 categories, similar to Alpine, similar to track and field for viewers out there, where there's endurance and sprinting. So the sprinting national team was looking for new athletes. They were doing like a talent ID search. So they hear that I want to try cycling. They get me on a flight to try out track cycling with the sprinting team. So I show up, and I literally had never been on a track bike before. And within about maybe 5 days, I'm already pretty fast compared to the other athletes that had been riding track bikes for
Their whole lives.
So you're well liked.
Exactly. For a couple of years at least, or
The
months.
skier shows up and nailing the competition.
But I had already had like years of leg strength.
Yeah, of course.
Like that
Lots of bike work,
transferred-
probably, like on,
True.
on
I mean,
stationary
bikes,
stuff.
but
100%.
you're right. And my legs were very strong.
So now let's make sure let's review. Let's recap.
Let's review.
Now you're going into your third Olympic Games. You are a softball player turned alpine skier. You're an alpine skier turned ski crosser.
Softball.
I heard softball at the start.
I played a lot of softball, but
Okay.
I mean, I was like a skier.
I'm going to
through
count
and
it.
through.
Let's go through another sport on the board.
Soccer,
Why not?
yeah, they were all there.
We got some soccer going on. There we go. So we're at ski cross turned rower turned.
We like dabbled. Come on, we dabbled.
Just a dabble in the
dabble,
row.
yeah.
Okay.
I
And then-
fell into the Pacific Ocean many times. as well.
Okay.
That is a very, very challenging sport, and I
Yeah.
attribute so much. I give a lot of kudos to those athletes for sure. It is one of the hardest sports I've ever done.
It's impressive.
Hands down.
Absolutely. Now you head into the sprint on the bike. So you decide, I'm going to switch things up a little bit. And you make the Olympics in Rio.
Endurance.
Doing the endurance, the track. Describe kind of the feeling of obviously getting named to the team, but also, I mean, that competition, that level of competition for you. I mean, you're so used to going through, I shouldn't say so used to going through, you're fairly new to going through World Cups, World Championships, and now you got the Olympic Games, the center of attention, and you're competing, and you guys land on the podium.
Yeah, well, to take it back a little bit, track cycling is a pretty crazy sport. Like, there are no brakes on those bikes, and there's no coasting. So as soon as you stop pedaling, you're getting, like, catapulted off your handlebars and off your bike, like kissing pavement at, like, 65K. Like, it doesn't feel good.
No.
Pavement on the outside tracks, like a gym floor.
Yeah.
And you get, like, splinters up your butt. Like, it can be pretty gnarly, for sure. That has never happened to me. And, yeah, I had to learn the whole sport, like in a very, very, very quick time, for sure. And I learned like everything from my teammates. They quickly saw that I was strong, so I think they had to kind of understand and kind of come together as a team that this girl is probably going to get named to the team because she's strong. We have to work with her, or she has to work with us, rather. And let's teach her what we know because she's probably going to get named to the team. They did not think that at first, for sure, but and so that was a challenging time for sure. Like I was definitely a very, very, very late entry to the team. And again, I've really only done like 3 races, which is kind of crazy to think about. But once we got to the Olympic Games, all of that kind of disappeared, and I was just a part of the team, and I actually had one of the most Olympic Olympic experience, and I kind of became a leader on the team at the Olympics, just in terms of all the other crazy stuff that goes on at the games. Like that I knew about, and so that to me was just kind of second nature. And what I was focused on was riding the track and actually riding a new velodrome, because in the Rio track, that track was different than the one in Milton in Canada where we train, and that track is different than the one in LA, which is different than the one in Hong Kong. So you have to get to learn the track, and the nuances are extremely, extremely tight. And but the detriment can be big if you don't understand a track and don't understand how to ride a specific track fast. So that was tearing me up. Like I was getting pretty nervous, but I kind of pulled it together, and we rode our fastest 3 rides that we've ever ridden, and the team has actually yet to ride that fast and anywhere close to it really in the last 2 years.
Little feather in the cap.
And I'm really excited to kind of get back into the swing of things and get back onto the team.
Well, obviously, you've
like
been through a
medal
lot.
in
No,
that.
and this is kind of like how we like to finish the show, and I think you'll be a really interesting answers coming here because you've been through so much. Again, you're not just talking about trying to make an Olympics. Like you've done it 3 times in 3 different sports. Like there's a mindset to that. There's a positivity. There's a stand up to adversity. There's a support system. There's all sorts of things built into the story, and we like to finish with the guest saying, what are the rules you live by? We call them the rise and shine rules, right? And so this is something that, anyone that has lived in high performance environments will have rules they live by, because that's the way you get there, right? That's how you get to that, where you're in those high performance environments, because you do things right for the most part. So like, what are some rules of life that you live by, and kind of how do you use them in your life to continue now looking at more successes and all this stuff that you get to do?
Hey, you're putting me on the spot here. I think I don't know. It's just actually talking to the manager of my. So track athletes are also on road teams. We do a lot of road racing and training as well. And I was just talking to the manager of my pro road team, and she was just saying, like, your attitude is going to get you so far. And I it's interesting when people say that to me. Like, and obviously I've experienced a lot of that in the last, like, a lot of that talk in the last 9 months, having gone through what I gone through. I had four leg surgeries in the last 8 months, and people just say, like, you don't quit. And I think, I don't know, I just have like a tenacity and grit, I think, that is just inside of me. And I don't know how, I think it was instilled at a very early age. And I just kind of give everything that I take on, I think, to, 100%. I don't know if I love when people say like 110%, but like, if it were true, I would say that's what I do. And it's been to my detriment as to my success. I really think, like, I hurt myself in the last race of the World Cup circuit before the Olympic Games, and not to get into detail, but I hurt myself at the top of the race and kept skiing, and I think that is what I probably would have been injured anyway, but that is what I think made me even more injured, because I kept skiing and then I injured myself later.
And you pushed through it because you wanted to be who you are.
For sure, and I was still in
but
second.
But it wasn't the right move. Yeah.
No, the right move would have been to stop racing, actually. But that same grit and fire in me, I know got me an Olympic medal. Like, I tell people I'm a winter athlete with a summer medal around my neck. And I don't know. I think I just don't. I don't quit. I don't give up. And what people say, like, how did you start to cycle, and how do you find sponsors, and how did you contact Rowing Canada? Like, you just find a way. I think you just find a way, and it's not that hard. But I think
I think another example is you've learned fast. You've said it on every step of the way that you get in an environment. You're like, I had two races to be the best in the world, but you did it, and you did it on the ski course. You did it in a race course. There's that in there too. I think is another big feather in your cap.
But I think that's hard to kind of tell someone. Like, what I think what people can take away is that don't quit attitude and find a way. Like, where there's a will, there's a way. And I know that's a very, very kind of cliche saying, but it's true. And I think that is really what I live by.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming out through all the injuries, through all the Olympics, through all the World Cups, World Championships. An incredible story, and thank you for sharing. That was fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
That's right. Grit, positivity, do it all. Be brave. Thank you, Georgia.
Don't quit.
Yeah.
That was great. Don't quit.
Yeah. And now, speaking of which, if you want to learn more about the Rise and Shine Camp, check this out. See you next episode. Bye-bye.
So we are sitting here at the future site of a really glamorous high-end facility called the Rise and Shine Retreat. Currently, we are kind of bootstrapping it with some tents that we've set up to be glamorous campsites, aka glamping. They make perfect accommodation for kids who are joining us for Jay's captain's camps.
Well, I think for us, half of this is about the mentorship program. It's not actually about soccer. The sport is why we're all here. But the mentorship is truly about what skills can we present to these kids and really start to give them an idea of what other successful people are doing in this world. And we have fun little competitions, but we always try to walk them out in the mentor's shoes, because that's truly how these kids can learn.
So we feel it's really important to make sure that they are able to identify their other skills and strengths, and particularly passions. It's not just kids coming up and being coached by somebody in their particular sport. It's kids' eyes being open to the multitude of possibilities and potential for success beyond the field. The idea is to create well-rounded individuals through this program. And then the other side of it is, we have all of these athletes who have transitioned out of sport, or entrepreneurs who have moved on or changed their focus and transitioned out of whatever their career path had been. And it's cool to provide an opportunity for them to be part of it.
To see kids grow and to see kids actually participate in these kind of activities is truly, for me, the biggest benefit I get out of it all, because I could see them physically developing right in front of our eyes. We've been at the highest echelons of high performance, but we've also, we're normal people, we're relatable people just like everybody else. And we have this rare ability to now create the platform to understand what that means, to support each other, to bring back community in not only in our kids, but as adults, and help each other.
I think that, when you achieve success as an athlete and you are so appreciative of all the people who put so much into it, it's only natural that you'd want to sort of turn around and share what you've learned and your experiences with the next generation.
We call it the Rise and Shine Retreat. That's what we're trying to create. We want people to come here in the health and wellness space and say, when I leave here, I'm going to be shining brighter. I'm going to understand what Rise and Shine means and the mentality behind it. We want to create a multifaceted facility. We want to be able to host weddings. We want to be able to host kids camps. We want to do fundraisers. We want to host community nights where people come and play sand soccer. We have the license and the space to really create our own lifestyle and bring people along with that in all of this health and wellness sphere that we feel so strongly about, and have a great crew that can help in those environments and create those atmospheres. And that's the kind of thing that we want to do here. We want to be unique. We want to set a new standard in how we should live, and ultimately create a community that really cares for each other.